So we started with the question of how do we know that we are learning from what we're going through? I want to make sure we keep that question, especially if, like you're the kind of person whose main work involves serving others. It's very easy to get caught up in that work and you end up being in sort of you got the blinders on, you're in a rut, and you don't take the time to step back and figure out, am I actually learning from this, or am I sort of doing the same thing over and over and over again and I'm not really sure? So this is a leadership essential for adult learning from the Center for Creative Leadership that helps us to have like a very concrete way of answering that question. How do I know if I have been learning, and how can I set myself up to learn? And we represent that by drawing this triangle here. And all the sides, we want them to be in a good balance, about the same length, because we need all three of these ingredients. And so the first ingredient, this side, is assessment. And this is, what is the data? Do I know? This is holding up that kind mirror. Do I know how I'm doing? Data can mean a lot of different things. It can be a result from a psychometric instrument I take that tells me I'm an introvert. It can be a series of conversations. It can be asking for feedback from someone that knows me well, that terrifying question, how have you been experiencing me lately? But assessment's very important. If we don't know where we are, we don't know what we need to begin working on and what we can improve or what we should be celebrating, right? The next element of this triangle is challenge. And it's just, research shows if you're not taking meaningful risk, you're probably not learning, you're probably not growing. And so this is experiencing something new or being pushed to apply what you already know in a new way. And that often entails feelings of fear, feelings of inadequacy, because not every challenge is completed successfully. And so that's why this third element, support, is so critical. Support is receiving that timely intervention, that information, taking time in your schedule, like Missy was saying, to step back and reflect. Reflection is actually a form of support for yourself. You can go back over your day and realize, oh, actually, I feel like I failed today, but actually I had a couple of really positive interactions. And before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to remember that. That's providing yourself a form of support. The key ingredient that acts as a catalyst to accelerate all of this working for your learning is relationship. And so we drew, imagine that all of this is taking place in the context of relationship. Relationship is that thing that raises the trust, raises the candor, allows you to more quickly test and discard mental models that aren't going to work. Relationship allows you to get the candid feedback that you really need. It allows you to make sure the challenges that you're getting, that you've got someone to process that with. It allows you to reach out and get the support that you need that may depend on relationship. To dig a little bit deeper into this, we asked ourselves three really, really important questions, one for each side of the triangle. The first was, what are the sources of data about my performance? And again, performance is like a very corporate word. So performance can be, does my wife feel that I'm present for her in the evenings? That's really vague, but it is really important data, and trust me, the data exists. And I can find it if I ask for it. So we don't want to limit our mental models about what data could or should be. A lot of different kinds of data have their place. But what are the sources? You've got to know, and have I even asked anybody lately, how am I doing? The heart work, do I want to know the answer to that question? Why or why not? What's the fear that's beneath the surface? So you've got to know the sources, and then of course you need to act on them. The second question is, what challenges or risks do I face? Remember, there's no true learning without risk, but it is a mindset choice. Do I think of a challenge as something I'm afraid of, or as an opportunity to learn, grow, and change? And so again, you can get into that, why or why not? What influences my mindset around the idea of taking a risk and of having a challenge? And then finally, what sources of support are available to me? And I didn't write this, but the following question is, am I taking advantage of them? Why or why not? And then the last ingredient down here is this 1 to 10 scale. I asked you just in general to think about how much relationship do you have in the bank on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being very low, 10 being I've got plenty of it. The research from Center for Creative Leadership says the higher the degree of relationship, these three things, it's like a chemical reaction that will be catalyzed, and you will learn. So, thinking ahead, as you're planning out, even the remainder of this semester or the rest of this year, think about what do I want to look different? in the spring semester from what it looked like right now? And how can I take control of that rather than being sort of pushed back and forth by whatever? How can you make this triangle a nice even triangle rather than like a smushed isosceles or something like that? Because triangles are really strong if you've got all three of the legs and if they're in the proportions you need. The final thing I'll say is, in a spirit of other-mindedness, is there a way that you can be an ingredient in one of these three for someone else, especially someone in this room? So is there data that you can provide, a kind mirror, hard data or soft, so-called soft data, which is sometimes the most important data is, again, how are you perceiving me? Or you overheard that conversation, how did I come across in it? Be honest with me. That's really important. Can you help somebody step into a risk or encourage them in the midst of a challenge? And then maybe that's a form of support you can provide them. And then, of course, constantly having our finger on the pulse of the relationship in the mix. Really, really important for continued learning. You can apply this to all kinds of things. You can apply it to marriages, relationships, careers. I think this tool will really serve you as you sit down and make space to reflect on what has been happening and how can I just get out all the learning that I can to turn around and just keep firing in all cylinders.